They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They are not coming after me, they're coming after you. I just happen to be standing in their way.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump has just sent out a message to the American people saying that he will obliterate the deep state, drain the swamp, and starve the warmongers. The former president has revealed his strategy to reduce government inefficiency, eradicate the impact of the bureaucratic establishment, and decrease the financial authority of those promoting military actions. He aims to reinstate executive branch impoundment, which he considers to be an essential strategy in reducing inefficiency and eliminating unnecessary expenditures. Impoundment, a power once more comprehensive but now restricted, would necessitate legal actions for the president to regain authority. In 1974, Congress implemented the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act, shifting significant spending oversight to both the House and Senate. Trump desires to combat it. The former president said that for 2 centuries within our governmental framework, there was consensus that the president possessed the constitutional authority to halt superfluous expenditure via a mechanism referred to as impoundment. He further explained that under this provision, if Congress allocated a larger budget than necessary for government operations, the president had the authority to decline the excess funds, opting to return them to the general treasury or potentially reduce taxes. Trump had previously unveiled a strategy to alleviate corruption and confront the deeply rooted federal administrative system. This strategy entails implementing a mandate that necessitates all federal staff members to successfully complete a civil service examination, thereby demonstrating their comprehension of the American Constitution. The term deep state has gained significant traction in contemporary political discourse, often used to describe alleged networks of power operating behind the scenes of a government. The concept of a deep state implies a covert network embedded within the political system, independent of a nation's democratic institutions. These alleged entities, consisting of military officials, intelligence agents, wealthy elites, and public servants, are presumed to control and shape national policy, acting outside of and often against publicly elected officials. The deep state concept is characterized by secrecy, longevity, and immense influence. The historical origin of the deep state concept dates back to the Ottoman Empire, but it was popularized in Turkey during the 1990s. It was initially used to describe alleged alliances between the nation's military, security apparatus, and organized crime. These clandestine structures were thought to wield substantial power, orchestrating coups and controlling significant aspects of Turkish politics. In recent years, the deep state concept has found resonance in other political contexts, particularly in the United States, following its use in political commentary and media. Some theorists suggest that a deep state exists within the U.S. government, citing supposed continuity in foreign and economic policy, despite changes in elected leadership. Critics of the deep state concept argue that it is a tool of theorists, with allegations often lacking concrete evidence. However, proponents maintain that it is a practical political reality, pointing to historical events like the Watergate scandal as demonstrations of the deep state at work. Understanding the deep state in any context requires an appreciation for the complexities and nuances of political power dynamics. It's important to differentiate between the concept of a deep state, a shadowy network acting independently of elected officials, and the reality of bureaucratic inertia. The latter is a recognized feature of democratic governance, where non-elected officials, due to their expertise, experience, and continuity in office, can exert significant influence over policymaking. While elements of a deep state as traditionally defined, such as entrenched bureaucracies, powerful lobbies, and influential groups, are undoubtedly present within many governments, attributing all political outcomes to their machinations oversimplifies the complexity of governance. It dismisses the multiplicity of interests, domestic and international forces, as well as public opinion that shape policy decisions. Additionally, indiscriminate usage of the term risks undermining trust in democratic institutions, while vigilance against undue concentrations of power is a fundamental aspect of democratic health. The deep state narrative can fuel unwarranted cynicism, theories, and erode faith in public institutions. The deep state concept also serves as a reminder that while democracy champions transparency, not all political power is exercised in the open. Various non-state actors, from corporations to lobbyists, do wield significant influence, often discreetly. Addressing this requires robust institutions, vigilant media, active civil society, and a commitment to transparency and accountability. War is an unfortunate reality of human history with significant implications on societal, economic, and political structures. Perhaps one of the most tangible and direct impacts is the financial burden it places on nations. The costs of war are staggering and multifaceted, including direct military expenditure, the indirect cost of sustaining a war-ready economy, post-war rebuilding, and veterans' care. One of the largest spenders on war historically has been the United States, especially during the two world wars, the Cold War, the Vietnam War, and the recent conflicts in the Middle East. To provide a sense of scale, according to the U.S. Department of Defense, American spending during World War II peaked at an astonishing $4.1 trillion in 2020. The total expenditure of the Vietnam War was around $1 trillion in today's dollars, while the spending on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2001 has exceeded $6 trillion, including future obligations for veterans' care. Similarly, other nations have also committed substantial resources to warfare. For instance, during World War II, Germany's war expenditure was approximately $5.6 trillion, and Japan's was around $2.2 trillion in today's dollars. The vast sums committed to war have profound implications for society and the economy. On the one hand, wartime economies often experience a surge in manufacturing and job creation, such as the economic boom seen in the U.S. during and after World War II. On the other hand, excessive military expenditure can lead to economic instability, inflation, and significant public debt, as witnessed in the U.S. during the Vietnam War and more recently, following the Middle East conflicts. Moreover, the opportunity cost of war spending is enormous. Funds channeled into warfare could be directed towards critical domestic priorities like education, healthcare, infrastructure, and environmental conservation. For example, according to the National Priorities Project, U.S. military expenditure in 2020 was around $732 billion, more than the next 10 countries combined. In comparison, federal spending on education was approximately $68 billion, highlighting a stark disparity in allocation of resources. The costs of war also extend beyond the immediate time frame of conflict. Veterans often face substantial post-war expenses, including reconstruction costs, compensation to war victims, and long-term health care for veterans. These lingering costs can burden economies for decades, as seen in the extensive veterans' health care costs. One of the most potent threats to the continuation of human civilization and life on Earth is the specter of nuclear warfare. This fear has hung over the world since the dawn of the atomic age during World War II. The catastrophic, destructive potential of nuclear weapons, their proliferation, and the geopolitical tensions that could trigger their use represent a daunting challenge to global peace and security. A nuclear weapon is an explosive device that derives its destructive force from nuclear reactions, either fission or a combination of fission and fusion. These reactions release enormous amounts of energy from relatively small amounts of matter. A single nuclear bomb can destroy an entire city. Today, the arsenal of nuclear weapons globally is far more potent and abundant than those early prototypes. As of 2023, it's estimated that there's between 12,500 to 13,000 nuclear warheads worldwide, and these are owned by 9 countries: the United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, France, China, India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea. The first 5 are officially recognized as nuclear weapon states by the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, while the other 4 are not. The destructive potential of these weapons is unthinkable. A large-scale nuclear war could end life on Earth as we know it. The initial blasts would cause widespread destruction, taking out millions of people instantly. The subsequent fallout, a dangerous mix of radioactive particles thrust into the atmosphere, would spread around the globe, causing radiation sickness and loss of life. Moreover, a nuclear war would have devastating environmental consequences, leading to what scientists call a nuclear winter. The smoke from fires caused by nuclear explosions would rise into the upper atmosphere, blocking sunlight, leading to global cooling. Global cooling would lead to global warming, and the world's economic and social problems would be exacerbated. Another alarming factor is the instability and unpredictability in international relations that could lead to nuclear war, whether by design or accident. The world has come close to nuclear war several times, the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 being the most famous example. Also, the threat of non-state actors acquiring nuclear weapons adds another layer of uncertainty and danger. While the picture painted is stark, the goal is not to inspire fear but to spur action. Nuclear warfare is a man-made disaster, and it is within our capability to prevent it. Several measures can be taken to reduce this threat. Firstly, disarmament is essential. The world must move towards the goal set out in the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, complete disarmament by the nuclear weapon states. The reduction and eventual elimination of nuclear stockpiles is a crucial step towards a safer world. Secondly, strengthening international treaties and institutions is vital. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, and the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons are pillars of the global nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation regime. However, these treaties face challenges, including lack of universal adherence and non-compliance. Thirdly, diplomacy and dialogue should be the tools of choice in resolving international conflicts. Tensions between nuclear-armed states should be managed carefully, with communication and understanding. Lastly, public awareness and engagement are essential. A world free of nuclear weapons cannot be achieved without the understanding, commitment, and demand from people worldwide. Public opinion can influence government policy, and a global citizenry aware of the risks of nuclear warfare can push their governments towards disarmament. The potential for nuclear warfare poses one of the most existential threats to human life on Earth. The widespread destruction, long-lasting radiation, and environmental repercussions of nuclear conflict could be catastrophic on a global scale. However, the question persists: what are the chances for human survival? A large-scale nuclear conflict involving hundreds or thousands of these weapons could result in immediate casualties in the hundreds of millions, or even billions. Yet, the initial destruction is only the beginning. The fallout, radioactive particles lofted into the atmosphere, would poison vast areas, contaminating water sources, soil, and causing cancer and other illnesses in surviving populations. Infrastructure would be devastated, disrupting the distribution of food, water, and medical supplies. Even more threatening is the possibility of a nuclear winter. The massive amount of dust and soot sent aloft by nuclear detonations could block sunlight, leading to significant cooling of the Earth's surface. This could result in widespread crop failure and subsequent famine, impacting all life forms, not just humans. Surviving these immediate and long-term effects would be a daunting task. However, survival is a characteristic deeply ingrained in human nature, and there are several factors that could contribute to humanity's perseverance in a post-nuclear world. Firstly, humanity's geographical spread and diversity could contribute to survival. Humans inhabit a wide range of environments across the Earth, and while a nuclear war would undoubtedly affect the entire planet, certain remote areas might be less directly impacted, such as parts of the southern hemisphere, due to prevailing wind patterns and fewer targets for nuclear strikes.